Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rob. I like to play games, and welcome back to another Precon party. Today we're going to be taking a look at the two Precons that came from Aetherdrift. I know that there is a lot of thoughts about Aetherdrift, let's say that much. I know one of the Precons did not do very well, and the other one did very well. My opinion kind of differs on that of everyone else, but that's okay. We're here to showcase the Precons and show you what they are. Again, if you like my content, please consider subscribing here. It would mean the world to me. You can also like, comment, subscribe, all those wonderful things that the algorithm likes. But in the meantime, let's get into the decks. All right, so the first one we're going to be looking at here is an energy precon. Energy is an interesting mechanic from the original well, not Aetherdrift, the original what is it? It was Aether Revolt. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But here we're going to be taking a look at Saheeli, Radiant Creator. She's a Teamer Commander, one of anything for green, blue, red. She's a 4/4 that says whenever you cast an Artificer or Artifact, gain an energy. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control, except it's a 5/5 artifact creature in addition to its other types, and it has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of your next end step. So with Saheeli, we kind of already have the basis of what it is we're looking to do. We're looking to play artifacts. We're looking to play artificers. We're looking to make energy so that we can copy our creatures with powerful enter the battlefield effects and then swing with them because they're 5/5s with haste. Maybe use a sacrifice payoff to help out with that. But that's the general theme of the deck. Personally, I really liked this deck. I built a pretty solid version of it, in my opinion. Revolved around some cards that weren't in here that I used in the upgrade path, so maybe just out of the box, this deck probably needs the most work. Energy has been an interesting mechanic that's been around for quite some time, and to be quite honest, they haven't quite hit the mark when it comes to the Precon decks, but that's okay. Again, we're here to take a look at the Precons. So the backup commander for this is Pia Nalar. If that name sounds familiar, it really should. It's Chandra's mom. She is Pia Nalar, chief mechanic, teamer, so green, blue, red for a 2/4. Yep. Whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage player, get 2 energy. And at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, create an XX colorless vehicle artifact token named Nalar Aetherjet with flying and crew 2, where X is the number of energy spent in this way. So kind of two different directions. Most decks do this, as we're all aware. Personally, I think Saheeli was the better commander of the two. Pia Nalar really just didn't have a good way to do its thing. So some of the key cards in here that especially had some nice reprint value at the time. Panharmonicon, whenever an artifact or a creature enters the battlefield, causes you a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger. Ability triggers an additional time. So this means Saheeli triggers twice whenever you cast an artifact. Very strong. And Conjurer's Closet. Beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. Now, Saheeli is a cast trigger, so she won't gain the energy on the blink effect there. However, we do get to re-trigger our ETBs. And some of the best ones here are going to be like Combustible Gear Hulk. When it enters target, you may have target opponent have you draw 3 cards. If that player doesn't, mill 3 cards and deal damage to that player equal to the total mana value of those creatures. Massive 6 mana 6/6 with first strike. Elder Gargaroth, very good card with an ETB ability. When it enters, when it attacks or blocks, sorry, it doesn't have an ETB ability. Thought it did, but great copy. You create a beast, gain 3 life, or draw a card. Great effects there. Other really strong ETB abilities are like Rogue Refiner. 3 mana 3/2. When it enters, draw a card and gain 2 energy. Remember, we need that energy to fuel the rest of our deck. So really good with that. Let's see. Whirler Rogue is going to create us some tokens when it enters the battlefield, and then we can Tap 2 tokens to make it so target creature can't be blocked. Pia and Kieran, so Chandra's parents, do the same thing. Make some artifacts, and you can sacrifice them to deal 2 damage to any target. Whirler Virtuoso, this is probably the other big target you want to do with this. 3 mana, 2/3, enters, makes 3 energy. You can pay 3 energy to create a Thopter. And probably my favorite card from this precon, the Stride Hanger Automaton. Whenever you create a token, you make another Thopter, and it gives all your Thopters +1/+1, which is great. So really, really cool effects there. The removal package in this deck, honestly, is pretty stacked in my opinion. Soul Guide and Lantern's good. Arcane Denial, Reality Shift, Chaos Warp. Disallow was kind of on the weaker end, but I didn't hate it in here. Just as it was a card that really needed a reprint. Chain Reaction's really strong. Druid of Purification. You know, some really good cards in this deck for that. However, the energy theme kind of fell flat. Just in the fact that like it really didn't do a whole lot for what you were looking to do. You needed a lot of upgrades, let's say that. Really cool addition though was the printing of Nissa, World Soul Speaker. 4 mana, 3/3 landfall. Whenever a land enters, gain 2 energy. Then you can pay 8 energy rather than the mana cost for permanents you cast. So if you could stockpile a good amount of energy, you could drop some of your bigger creatures like Aethertide Whale here. 6 mana, 6/4 flying. When it enters, gains 6 energy. Pay 4 to return it to its owner's hand. You could literally cast that for free, which is really strong and would allow you to kind of snowball out of the ahead. There's also Aetherwind Basker, 7 mana, 7/7 with trample. When it enters or attacks, gain an energy. And then you can pay an energy to give it +1/+1 until end of turn. I honestly wish these were counters. It would be so much better, but alas, it wasn't. And probably the big card that came out of this thing for energy decks in general was Lightning Runner. 5 mana, 2/2 double strike haste. Remember, you can copy this thing with Saheeli. So now it's a 5/5 double strike haste. And when it attacks, gain 2 energy. Then you may pay, what is that, 8? 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, pay 8 energy. If you pay, untap all creatures you control, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So again, really strong to be able to take extra turns to continue, going out. Another really strong card that I liked out of this deck was Adaptive Omni Tool. It's a 2 mana equipment. If you know me, you know I love artifacts, and you know I love Nettle Cyst. Nettle Cyst is basically a version of this card. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. Cool. Love that ability. Great way to finish out games. And whenever equipped creature attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Realistically, though, Teamer is a tough sell when it comes to artifact decks. You're leaning very heavily into the red-blue, and you're mostly just using green for the ramp package that you get with playing Teamer. So it kind of struggled with that specifically because like you want the green ramp, but at the same time you want a high artifact count so that you're constantly triggering your artifact stuff. So if you notice, we don't have our normal artifact or our normal green ramp package that we normally would. We're missing, the Farseek's Nature Lore, 3 Visits, Kodama's Reach, Cultivates. We're missing those things from this deck, which I think kind of hurts it in a way, but also helps because they are leaning very heavily into that artifact sub-theme. This deck, if you want to pick it up, definitely you can, if this is a theme that interests you. However, I will warn you that this deck does require a lot of upgrades. If you want some help with that, please reach out. Again, I'm a member of the Jungle Games Entertainment Discord. You can talk to me there. Feel free to ask me questions. Please join us. We'd be happy to have you. But with that, let's take a look at the other deck that came from Aetherdrift. All right. And so the other deck we have was Temmet, Nakdumun's Will. He is an Esper commander, 2 of anything, white, blue, black, for a 4/4 Vigilance Menace. So great stats on a 5-drop. Vigilance Menace, great abilities there. Whenever you attack, draw a card, then discard. And whenever you draw a card, zombies you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So, theme around this deck seems pretty straightforward. You're going to be drawing and discarding cards and making and pumping up zombies. So it's an Esper zombie deck. Something that's been done before. We've all seen it. The backup commander on this one was Hashaton, Scarab's Fist. This card really doesn't need much of an introduction if you've been playing a lot of EDH like I do. Hashaton has seen a lot of work in CDH, so competitively. He's an Orzhov commander, so white-black for a 1/3. And you're probably thinking, well, hey, Rob, how's that possible? He's white-black. How's he a backup in this deck? Well, because of his other ability, whenever you discard a creature card, you may pay 2 of anything in blue. That blue symbol in his ability makes him an Esper commander. And if you do, you create a tap token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. So Hashaton is really powerful in the fact that if you can get a lot of mana out and just start like cycling some big cards, or even just, you know, draw and discard effects, you can pump out some really nasty creatures that are quite big. Now, for a zombie deck, this deck did bring in all of the normal victims. You know, you get your Cemetery Reaper, other zombies get +1/+1, and then you can exile cards from any graveyard to create 2/2s. Lord of the Accursed, again, +1/+1, but gives all your zombies menace until end of turn. On Wings of Gold was a new card that came from here, and I really liked it. Creatures you control that are zombies and or tokens get +1/+1 and have flying. And whenever one or more creatures leave your graveyard, create a 1/1 white zombie creature token. So right off the gate, you know, you have a token anthem effect, and you have a way to make tokens. Really, really powerful. And it's really not that difficult to do. And then we had Priest of the Crossing. At the beginning of each end step, put X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of creatures that died under your control this turn. All right. Then, you know, we've got some decent drain effects. You kind of expect these in zombie decks. Corpse Knight, Wayward Servant, Plague Belcher. I love Plague Belcher. I actually play this in my Ghoul deck, which you can find on my Architect page, as well as Gem Palm Polluter. Very powerful effect for what you're trying to do here, which is swarm the battlefield with a bunch of zombies. Reprint value in here I thought was actually pretty solid as well. You know, we got Zombie Master, which doesn't always need a reprint, but it's not a bad one to have. Again, all of the Anthem effects are always needed. Rot Hulk is good. Grave Titan is always good. God Eternal, Oketra, you know, some really, really strong cards in this, as well as a reprint of Unholy Grotto. Colorless land, but it puts a zombie card from your graveyard on top of your library. Never a bad thing to have when you're discarding all these cards and having all those effects go in. Lost Monarch of Ifnir was another really good one. Gives all of your zombies afflict 3. Basically, whenever this creature becomes blocked, defending player loses 3 life. And at the beginning of your second main phase, if a player was dealt damage by a zombie this turn, mill 3 cards, then put a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Really just powerful Anthem burn effect that turns even your 2/2 zombie tokens into lethal threats after a while. So with that, we will kind of wrap this one up. Honestly, I think if you were to pick just one deck from Aetherdrift to pick up and upgrade, I would definitely recommend this one here with Temmet, unless you really want to play around with energy and you want to do some upgrades, or you really like the idea of Teamer artifacts and just want some more stuff for your arsenal. I think this is that would be a decent precon for you as well for that. But other than that, again, I want to thank you all so much for watching this. Please consider subscribing. Our goal is to hit the 500 mark by the end of the year, but realistically, let's look at just hitting 100 first. Also, you know, do the things to make the dings. Hit the like, comment, subscribe, bell for notifications, all that good stuff. And until next time, my name is Rob. I like to play games, and we'll see y'all later. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.